How many times have you stopped yourself right before speaking? You had something to say. You knew what you wanted to express. The sentence was there, sitting just behind your lips, but your voice stayed quiet. Maybe you were afraid. Afraid of getting it wrong. Afraid someone might laugh. Afraid your accent would show. Afraid your words would come out broken. So instead of speaking, you smiled. You nodded. You said nothing. And the moment passed. We've all been there. That quiet pause where your courage and your fear wrestle in silence, and fear wins. But here's what no one tells you. The sentence you never said could have been the beginning of your fluency. Because fluency doesn't start with perfection. It starts with trying. Even when your voice shakes, even when the grammar is wrong, even when it sounds messy, every fluent speaker once whispered their first sentence too. And it probably wasn't perfect. It probably wasn't even smooth. But they spoke, and then they spoke again, and slowly, their voice found rhythm. Their fear softened, and their confidence began to grow. What if the only thing standing between you and the version of you who speaks with confidence is one small moment of courage? The moment you choose to say something, even if it's not perfect. You don't need perfect words. You need brave ones. So the next time you feel the sentence rising in your chest, let it come out. Even if it's slow, even if it's unsure, even if you have to pause in the middle to find the word. Because that's how it starts. One imperfect sentence, spoken anyway, and then another, and another. Until one day, you say it easily, and you barely remember the fear. Let's take a breath and say it anyway. You've got this, and your voice is ready. People often say, I just don't have time. And maybe you've said it too. I want to practice my English, but I'm too busy. Maybe tomorrow, maybe next week, when life slows down. But what if I told you that 5 minutes could begin to change everything? Not an hour, not a full lesson, just 5 quiet minutes. 5 minutes to listen to an English podcast. 5 minutes to repeat a few simple phrases. 5 minutes to write one short sentence in a notebook. That's it. No pressure, no perfect plan. Just presence. Because here's something important. You don't build fluency in a day, you build it in the days you choose not to give up. 5 minutes may not seem like much, but 5 minutes, done daily, becomes a rhythm. And rhythm becomes routine. And routine becomes progress. Even on the days you feel tired, even when you feel stuck, 5 minutes is still something. And something is always better than nothing. Maybe you do it while you're making your coffee, or right before bed, or during your bus ride to work. You don't need more time. You just need to give a small part of your day to the future version of you who speaks clearly, confidently, and freely. The difference between someone who learns and someone who waits is often just 5 minutes. So instead of asking yourself, do I have time to practice today? Ask, can I give myself just 5 minutes? Because 5 minutes is enough to begin. And every beginning opens a door. You don't have to do it all. You just have to start. And 5 minutes is a beautiful place to start. Sometimes you think you're not improving. You listen to someone speak fluently and wonder, why can't I speak like that yet? You study, you try, you make mistakes, and still it feels like you're not moving forward. But what if I told you that growth is happening, even when you can't see it? Progress is often invisible until one day it isn't. Think about it. The first time you understood a new word, the first time you finished a full sentence, the first time you read something without translating every word in your head. You may not remember those moments, but they were real. They mattered, and they built something. Just like plants grow beneath the surface, before we ever see the leaves, your language skills are growing quietly in ways you don't always notice. You're remembering more than you think. You're understanding more than you realize. You're building confidence, even on the days that feel small. We often expect learning to be obvious, to feel like a victory every day. But real progress? It's quiet, it's slow, it's hidden until it blooms. The days you doubt yourself are often the days you're growing the most. So if today feels slow, if your practice feels messy, if your voice feels unsure, keep going. Because something inside you is learning to believe again. Something inside you is learning to stay. You don't need a sign. You don't need a perfect result. You just need to trust that every small effort, every word spoken, every sentence read is building something that will last. You may not see it yet, but you're becoming someone who doesn't give up, and that is real progress. You're waiting to feel ready. You tell yourself, maybe tomorrow I'll speak. Maybe when my grammar is better. Maybe when I know the perfect word. Maybe when I feel more confident. But what if that moment never comes? What if confidence doesn't come before you speak, but after? You don't speak because you're ready, you speak so that one day you will be. Fluent speakers weren't born brave. They weren't born fluent. They just started speaking before they felt ready. They stumbled, they hesitated, they forgot words, they laughed at their own mistakes, and they kept going. That's what makes the difference. Not perfection, not vocabulary size, not a flawless accent, but the courage to open your mouth, even when it shakes. The moment you speak imperfectly is the moment your journey truly begins. So if you're waiting to sound like a native speaker, you'll wait forever. Instead, speak now. Speak while you're still unsure. Speak with the words you know, and let the rest come later. It doesn't have to be a big sentence. It doesn't have to be clever or complex. Even something as simple as, "Hello, how are you? Can I help you? I'm learning English." That's enough. Each time you speak, you tell your brain, "It's okay, I can do this." Each time you speak, you build a new connection between thought and voice, between fear and action, between learning and living. Your voice is not waiting to be perfect, it's waiting to be used. So speak. Speak before you're ready. Speak softly, speak slowly, but speak. Because the moment you do, you become the version of yourself you've been waiting for. There will be days you don't practice, days you forget, days you don't feel like it, days when everything feels heavy, and learning English is the last thing on your mind. You'll skip a lesson, you'll stay quiet when you wanted to speak, you'll make a mistake and feel embarrassed, and that little voice in your head might say, "I messed up. I'm not serious. Maybe I should just stop." But here's something I want you to remember. You're allowed to start again. No matter how many times you've paused, no matter how long it's been, you can always return. You can always come back to your goals. You can always pick up where you left off. You can begin again, slowly, gently, without shame. Because this isn't a race. It's not about being perfect. It's about building a relationship with your growth. And like all relationships, it takes patience, kindness, and time. Every time you come back, you're not starting from zero. You're starting from experience, from memory, from strength you didn't even know you had. Progress isn't ruined when you rest. It's only paused, and you can press play again. So if you're listening to this now, and you've been feeling behind, unmotivated, or ashamed for stopping, let that go. Take a breath, and let this be your gentle invitation to begin again. No pressure, no big plan, just one sentence, 1 minute, one step. Because the moment you return to your practice, you are already on the path again, and that's something to be proud of. So take today, take this moment, and say to yourself, "I'm not giving up, I'm just starting again." If this message spoke to you, if you've ever felt stuck, afraid to speak, or unsure where to start, then I want to invite you to stay connected. On this channel, we make learning English easier and more human. Not with pressure, but with phrases, conversations, and encouragement that fit into your real life. Here you'll find videos that help you speak naturally, practice every day, and build confidence step by step. Whether you're starting fresh or starting again, you're welcome here. Subscribe to the channel and let's keep learning together, the calm, simple, and powerful way, one phrase at a time.